Imagine flying over a completely deserted area where the horizon seems endless, but life is apparently non-existent. The cracked and dry ground reflects the sun's heat, while the absolute silence echoes something even more frightening: the complete absence of life. Places like these exist, scattered across the earth and even beyond it. But the question that drives us is simple and intriguing. Why are there zones where no one can live? Our planet, with all its biodiversity, is home to millions of species adapted to countless environments. However, there are places that seem to repel any attempt at survival, whether due to a lack of water, unbearable heat, extreme cold, or invisible dangers. These places challenge even the most resilient life forms. But what makes these regions so hostile? Is it nature in its rawest state, or the consequences of human actions? Throughout this video, we will explore deserts, radiation zones, ocean depths, and even distant planets to understand how extreme conditions shape life, or in some cases, make it completely impossible. Before we continue on this journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This helps us keep bringing amazing content like this to you. So, hit the like button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. If these questions have already piqued your curiosity, get ready. Our next stop is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth: deserts. What makes these landscapes so challenging? Let's find out. Now imagine a place where rain can take years to appear. The sun relentlessly beats down on the land day after day, and temperatures can reach levels that would make any human faint within minutes. These are deserts, regions that cover about 33% of Earth's surface, but are virtually uninhabitable for most forms of life. The Atacama Desert in Chile is an extreme example. Known as the driest place on Earth, it has areas where it hasn't rained in centuries. The soil is so arid that even bacteria struggle to survive in some parts. This desert is a prime example of how a lack of water, combined with scorching temperatures during the day and freezing cold at night, creates an environment where life is nearly impossible. Despite this, there are fascinating exceptions. Plants like cacti and small insects have developed extraordinary adaptations to survive in these settings. And what about humans? From ancient Egypt to modern Bedouins, there have been those who ventured and even thrived in desert regions, showcasing human resilience. But don't be fooled. These places are unforgiving. Deserts represent a constant challenge to survival. And if extreme heat is lethal, what about the opposite? Our next stop takes us to Earth's deadliest cold, the polar regions. While deserts challenge survival through heat and dryness, the polar regions impose the opposite struggle: extreme cold. Imagine temperatures plummeting to minus 50 degrees Celsius, or minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit, where even breathing feels painful. This is the environment of the Arctic and Antarctica, the coldest and most isolated places on the planet. In Antarctica, ice dominates the landscape, covering more than 14 million square kilometers, 5.4 million square miles, with winds that can exceed 300 kilometers per hour, 186 miles per hour, and months-long nights. It's easy to understand why human life is nearly non-existent there. Only a few scientific bases, equipped with advanced technology, can withstand these extreme conditions. Even then, researchers face daily challenges, from frostbite to psychological isolation. The Arctic, while more accessible, is equally brutal. Indigenous communities, such as the Inuit, have developed extraordinary skills to survive, using every resource available in nature. However, with climate change, even these well-adapted cultures face unprecedented threats, such as melting ice and habitat loss. The lesson from these regions is clear. Cold not only challenges physical survival, but also redefines the limits of what is possible. If extreme cold is already terrifying, imagine a danger you cannot see, feel, or hear. Our next stop takes us to invisible yet deadly radiation zones. Unlike the heat of deserts or the cold of polar regions, the next danger is something we cannot see, feel, or smell, but it is lethal: radiation. Radioactive zones, such as Chernobyl and Fukushima, have become synonymous with nuclear disasters and reminders of how human actions can transform habitable places into deadly zones. Chernobyl, for instance, was the site of one of the worst nuclear accidents in history in 1986. The reactor explosion released catastrophic levels of radiation into the atmosphere, forcing the evacuation of thousands and creating an exclusion zone that remains to this day. Radiation not only killed instantly, but also contaminated the soil, water, and wildlife for generations. Fukushima, Japan, faced a similar scenario in 2011 when an earthquake followed by a tsunami caused a nuclear plant meltdown. Despite efforts to contain the radiation, the damage to the environment and human health was profound. These zones are a harsh reminder that while heat and cold are natural challenges, radiation is a threat created by us. Even decades later, these areas remain uninhabitable, with radiation levels dangerous to any form of life. But if radiation zones seem extreme, what about places where natural conditions are even more relentless? Our next stop takes us to some of the most extreme environments on Earth. Now we arrive at places that seem to belong to another planet. Imagine an environment where the pressure is so intense it would crush a human in seconds, or where the ground is saturated with chemicals so toxic that life is nearly non-existent. These are Earth's most extreme environments. A fascinating example is the oceanic trenches like the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth. At 11,000 meters, 36,000 feet below sea level, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. Here, sunlight doesn't reach, and the temperature hovers near freezing. Yet, extremophile organisms, such as bacteria and small crustaceans, manage to thrive, challenging our understanding of biology. Another extreme example is salt deserts, like Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni. While visually stunning, this place is so hostile that few life forms can adapt. The soil is rich in minerals, but the lack of nutrients and extreme salinity make the environment nearly barren. These places prove that, although Earth is incredibly diverse, there are limits to where life can flourish. But what about beyond our planet? Are there even more extreme places in the cosmos? Let's explore that in the next chapter. If you think Earth's most extreme environments already defy logic, imagine space. Beyond our planet, there are places so hostile that life as we know it would be completely impossible. One example is Venus, often called Earth's evil twin. Its surface is a true hellscape with temperatures exceeding 460 degrees Celsius, 860 degrees Fahrenheit, atmospheric pressure 90 times greater than Earth's, and sulfuric acid rain. Any attempt at survival there would be instantly thwarted. Mars, while less extreme, is another major challenge. With freezing temperatures, a thin atmosphere, and a lack of liquid water on a large scale, it requires advanced technologies to even imagine colonization. Missions from NASA and SpaceX aim to transform this reality, but we're still far from making Mars habitable. And the Moon? With no atmosphere and temperatures ranging from minus 173 degrees Celsius to 127 degrees Celsius, it is equally unforgiving. Any human presence depends on technological bases that can create artificial environments. These examples show that Earth, despite its challenges, is a paradise compared to other celestial bodies. But before thinking about exploring or inhabiting other planets, we must reflect on the care of our own world. Let's explore that in the conclusion. After exploring scorching deserts, freezing polar regions, radiation zones, and even the limits of space, one thing becomes clear. Earth is a true miracle. Despite its extreme zones, our planet is the only place we know that can sustain life abundantly. But are we taking care of this precious home? Climate change, deforestation, pollution, and human impacts threaten to turn habitable areas into new uninhabitable zones. Coastal cities face rising sea levels, entire forests disappear every year, and even agricultural areas essential for our survival are at risk due to desertification. The great lesson from the uninhabitable zones we've explored is simple. Life is incredibly resilient, but there are limits. If we continue to strain Earth's ecosystems, we may end up turning our only home into something unrecognizable or even uninhabitable. Now more than ever, it is essential to value the planet we have. Protecting water, reducing carbon emissions, and preserving our ecosystems is not just a choice, but a matter of survival. After all, while we explore other worlds, Earth remains the only zone where we can fully live, and it is up to us to ensure it stays that way.